Okay, so without further ado, what we are going to be talking today is a bit of a first steps setting up these two IP extenders, these two devices, the VEO-XTI2L and the VEO-XRI2L. Okay. What I want to focus is on the beginning of the process. Okay, and give you a bit of a hands-on example. It's going to be a very simple example, okay, so don't worry. But I think it's going to be very useful, okay? So, why VEO over IP? Well, it's a technology that's steadily growing, okay, in our environment. It's beginning to be very extended, okay, and we think that it has several advantages over other technologies, okay. The fact that you can put the receiver and the transmitter wherever you want, okay, wherever you need in the installation, in the setup that you have planned, okay. Also, the fact that you don't have physical limitations. You can emulate, for example, a matrix situation, a matrix routing situation, okay, and being able to leave to the future the decision to add more receivers or more transmitters without having the to be linked to a physical case. Okay, if you have, for example, a device with 4 inputs and 4 outputs, and you need another one, you in a traditional kind of situation, you will have to buy another device. In that case, adding another transmitter and receiver, so okay. And also, it's a very optimized environment, okay, where you will be sharing especially cabling infrastructure. Everything is working with twisted pair. The central nodes, the switch layers are going to be very optimized and utilized for plenty of things. So you don't have to worry about different kinds of cables, adapter, extenders, etc. Okay. So, as I was saying, here today we're going to be working in a very simple practical example of an AV installation. We're going to be using the VEO-XTI2L and XRI2L, okay, pair of extenders. Here you have a brief summary of its functionalities. As you already know, they are 4K capable. You can send HDRI images. One of the main features of these devices is its very low latency. We're talking about almost 20 milliseconds in a 60 hertz situation. Okay, there are several other functionalities, as you can see here: USB extension, video wall, very versatile kind of product. Okay. This is the schematic of our installation. As I told you before, it's a very simple installation. We have 2 sources, a video player and a laptop, and we have 2 different rooms that have 2 displays, only 2 displays, and also we are going to be adding a control device. In that case is our panel with WPNet Touch. Okay, that's going to help us control all this setup. This is the UCP that we have prepared for this situation. As you can see, it's a very simple one. The 2 sources and the 2 destinations. It's a matrix kind of routing. Here you have the buttons to do the cross points. Okay, and it will help you. The way we're going to approach this is as if we were beginning this project from scratch, okay? And I will be guiding you step by step on how you should approach it. Okay, from the very from the least aspects, like maybe the configuring of the devices, until the configuring of the UCP. It's going to be very brief. Okay, then you can escalate it to a more complex situation that's not going to be problematic. So, as I was saying, let's start. So, setting up. What we need to do first, that's a very important thing, is to have both EclerNet Manager and the devices with the latest firmware update. Okay, this is fundamental for one of the ways that we're going to be addressing this scenario. Okay, so once we have that, what's the first thing we're going to do? Well, I have my brand new devices. I take them out of the box. They are shiny. They are pretty beautiful. Okay, so what's the first thing I need to do? In that case, those devices are going to be pre-configured from factory default in Out2IP. This is the range of network that's going to be introduced in them. We're talking about 169.254 network, but the thing here is we are not going to know pre-hand the host. We need to know the whole IP address in order to be able to control them with our software. Okay, so you maybe are asking yourself, but if I connect them right out of the box, are they going to work? Yes, they are going to work, okay? But only in a point-to-point kind of situation, in a unicast transmission. In that case, we are going to be working in a multicast environment. We want to be able to share from one source to both displays, okay? So it's important to have this in mind. First thing we need to do is to know which IP has every device. And how can we do that? Well, there are several ways. As I told you before, the main one, the one you are going to be almost always working with, is through EclerNet Manager. Okay, now I'm going to do a brief demonstration of how can you do this. So what we need to do is go to our application. We opened it. Here, we're going to need to choose, first of all, as you already know, which network card we want to use. In that case, I already have our devices pre-configured, okay? So I'm going to demonstrate the example as if they were in the factory default, okay? In this range of network, 169.24, okay? So select them, and automatically they appear here. Okay, we can see which kind of device they are. We can see the ID, and we can see the actual IP address. So now, if it was our true example, what I would do is right-click, open my network configuration, and introduce the IP address that I want, that I need in my installation. I would click OK, and it will reboot the device. Now we're not going to do it because we don't want to lose any time. But this is what we will need to do for every device. Once we have this, once we have done it, we can add them to our project, okay? But the important thing here is that if we are not in the network range that the devices are, these slides are telling us that we are not going to be able to control it. We can access its interface. We can try to change the IP address. It's not going to be working. So what we need to do is to get back to the network range that they are, okay? Here you're seeing that they are syncing, and they're going to be here in between, okay, in our scenario. So we come back to our presentation. Okay, is there any way we can do this without EclerNet Manager? Actually, there is. Okay, there are several other ways we can know the IP address without the software. As I was telling you before, the main scenario it's going to involve using the software because it's the easiest way. Okay, but for example, maybe in that moment you don't have a PC nearby, you don't have your software. What can we do? Well, one of it, the first one, okay, it's if you have a TV nearby, an HDMI display, okay, you can grab the receiver and plug it into the TV. What you're going to see is that splash screen, okay, right here. And if you look on the bottom right corner, it's going to be appearing all this information. It's going to be showing the firmware and especially the IP of the device. Okay, this is the IP of the receiver. But what if I need to also know the IP of the transmitter? Is there any way to know that? Actually, there is. If they are in the same network range, okay, and you connect them both, you use a twisted pair to connect both the transmitter and the receiver, here it's going to appear only if you turn them into the same channel, okay? Receiver and transmitter in the same channel are in the same network range. Here you're going to be seeing also the IP of the transmitter. Okay, this is a very useful way in those situations where you have only the receiver, you are in the place, okay, where you want to install it, and you need to know fast which IP they are. You can plug them, and it's going to be telling you this. Okay, so what if I don't have the latest firmware? I told you before that it's very important in order to be able to discover that with EclerNet Manager. From this point on, every device that's going to be shipping is going to have the latest firmware installed. But I know that there are some of you that maybe couldn't update before these extenders. So what can I do to discover the IP? Well, so easy. You can go to Ecler's website and you can download the control center, okay? This app is going to be helping you configure also your devices. So this is the main screen. What you need to do is set your network card to the network range of the devices, click scan, and automatically it's going to appear here in those two windows, all the transmitters and receivers that you have in your network with its complete IP, okay? So now you can choose whether to change it here in the application, okay? Or also what you can do is go to its web interface. For example, I'm going to be entering transmitter. Here it is. You can go to network. You can change it there. That's another way. Okay. Once you have it on your preferred IP address, you click apply and reboot the device. That's very important to these changes to take effect. Okay. So also here you're going to be able to control other functionalities as factory default. You can change the hostname ID. You can affect other things. Okay, but well, what if I don't remember the IP? What if I configured this device a long time ago and I didn't take note on which IP or which network range at least they were pre-configured. Is there any way I can find out? Is there anything I can do? Well, actually there is. Okay, that's a last resort kind of solution. Okay, it's not something that you will go in an everyday basis. Okay, in a day-to-day basis, but it's a very useful tip. Okay, that that you can use in some of these extra situations, emergency situations, if you want, where you need to know the IP and there's no other thing to do. What you will need to be doing is, first of all, connect to the RS232 port here in the front panel. Then you're going to be switching this switch into program position. Okay. Now you're going to enter in the program mode. You need to enter this command into a serial software, and it's going to be appearing the IP of the device. As I was telling you before, this is a very, very unusual situation because it's like a last resort, but it's really useful for those situations where maybe you didn't do the installation, maybe a colleague did it, and you don't know what to do. Okay, and you need to maybe reboot the devices or know the address. Okay, so now we know the addresses. We have our devices in our project. Is there anything we need to check out? Yes, actually there is. Okay, in a multicast kind of situation, it's important also to check out some things about the network environment. Okay, there are some scenarios where you may not be able to directly access this network. Maybe it's a big building. There are several stages of these layers of this network, and you will need to contact with the IT department and ask them. But for those situations where you have your central node, your central switch, and you can access it, it's useful to know those two recommendations I'm going to show you now. First of all, it's very important to activate jump of frame. Okay, here you have our main scheme of the switch we are using, the layer 2 switch we are using. Okay, as you can see here, we have jump of frame enabled. I know that there are some switches that they do not label this functionality per se, and what you need to do is actually increase the size of the frame packet. Okay, usually it's established at 1500 megabits. Okay, what you need to do is increase the NTU, okay, to at least 9 megabits. Okay, at least that's the number that we're going to be entering. How can we know if there's something wrong and there's a jumbo frame situation that needs to be taken into account? This is the typical image, okay, that you are going to be getting if some device on your network isn't jumbo frame compatible, or the MTU is less than what it needs to be. This is the screen that you are going to be taking. You're going to be seeing this snow splash screen with some bits of image that are going to be randomly appearing. What you need to do is set the jumbo frame functionality on or increase the frame size. Another thing we need to activate in a multicast kind of scenario is IGMP snooping. This is going to be very, very helpful in order to optimize traffic and to prevent some video drops. Okay, especially in those situations where video and Dante are sharing the same network switch. Okay, this is highly recommended. This is very important because we cannot guarantee at least that for every network configuration and for every network length, this is going to be perfectly co-working. Okay, so to be safe, safest choice is always to use separate VLANs. Okay, when we are having Dante and video over IP traffic on the same network switch. Okay, if we have a control device like the one we need now in this scenario, it's also important that it's configured in a way that it can access both networks, okay, in order to control both kind of devices. Okay, so also we have some guides in our website that will help you address these configurations a little bit more in depth. Okay, you can download them in the IP2L extensors section of the website, as you can see here. And here we are addressing the two switches that we recommend here in Ecler that we that are fully compliant and we have fully tested. This is extendable to other brands, but those two are the ones that we are recommending. Okay, so now we have our devices properly adjusted to the network. We have the network properly configured, okay, in order to be able to transmit video at full capabilities. What we need to do what we need to do now is to begin our project. Okay. Here's again our schematic. Let's take a brief recap. We have two sources. Okay, we have video player, we have laptop, we have our two transmitters, we have our switch properly configured, and we have the two rooms. Okay, so what we need to do is open again EclerNet Manager. Now I'm going to access load the project. I'm going to load a project that I already have begun to save some time, but this is the moment where you are going to be beginning the project as I showed you in the situation before, okay, in the earlier demonstration. Okay, so here we have our devices. Now they are rebooting. Okay, so we are going to be what we can do is rename them. We can do a renaming of the devices in order to be able to access them before. Okay, so the first transmitter is going to be the video player. The second transmitter is going to be the laptop. Then we're going to be having a receiver in the room 1 that's going to be TV1, for example, and in room 2 it's going to be TV2. Okay, so here we have our devices. As I said before, we can rename it. This is going to be video player. That was the first one. Here we can say that's laptop. Here we have TV room 1, TV room 2. We can go to the video player, open its configuration dialog. We have here multicast configured. If it's not, we can change it there. Okay. We have our network properly set, and we're going to select, for this case, channel 6, for example. This source is going to be in channel 6. The other source is going to be on channel 7. Okay, so then we can open our UCP. Here we have it. What we are going to be doing is adding our button. Okay, normal button, and we can configure. This is room 1, so room 1. If we want to go to the video player, we have to put channel 6. We have to address the laptop. Well, TV room 1, channel, we said it was 7. Perfect. And the same for room 2. We have room 2, channel 6, and also here, room 2, channel 7. Okay, great. We have already configured it. We can change images, we can change text, but next step could be deploy. We can check here our UCP to look if, okay, here it is. Now we have properly configured, okay, the cross point. So when I click this button, it's going to be making the selection, and in TV room 1, it's going to be appearing in the video player. Or maybe also I wanted to watch it on room 2 display. I just have to click here, and it's going to be appearing. Okay. So going back, this is as I said, very first step kind of scenario. You can escalate it to whatever your needs are. Okay, you can add more transmitters, more receivers, and you can play with your UCP configurations. Okay, in order to make it work for your kind of. So, as a summary, what we learned today, that is very important to have both EclerNet Manager and the 2L devices with the latest bit. Okay, if not, we are not going to be able to do the integration with other devices, maybe other devices that we have, a MIMO, for example, and it's going to be a bit trickier to do the configuration. When we have this, what's the next step we want to do? We need to know which exact IP address has each and every one of our devices, our transmitters and receivers. There are several ways. The first one, and the one we recommend using, that's going to be the easiest one, is using EclerNet Manager and Auto Discovery, as we already said. Then there are several ways without EclerNet Manager. We can go directly plugging it into a TV and looking to the bottom corner, the information that appears there. We can access the web interface also, and finally, we can do it through serial port connection and asking directly through an RS-232 command, which IP does this device has. Okay, once we've done that, we have to make sure that our network, okay, meets the requirements that this kind of transmission, let's recap, a 4K HDR transmission needs to function properly. Okay, we need to make sure that the devices has these functionalities turned on or that are compliant to it. And last but not least, you have to begin your project and let your imagination fly. Okay, thank you very much.